after it was all done and we got to closing finally, I made $19,000, and I was so grateful that I had the money um, to split because I was so afraid that I was going to have to pay this realtor who was my business partner to sell his house. And so, you make those early mistakes, and I call it paying tuition. Because I tell people now, if you did a deal like that, you made 19,000, you had to split it, and after 9 months, you made about 1,000 a month, but you pulled your hair out every night. Would you want to do that deal? And a lot of people will say no. Or I'll say, hey, what if you did a deal for 9 months and you didn't make any money? Would that be a good deal? And a lot of people say no. And I said, well, what if you lost 50 grand? And they're like, well, that's a terrible deal. I said, well, I would do a deal if I lost 50 grand, but I learned a ton.
Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Pros Podcast. I'm Kristen, and I'm here with Jamaal Richard, who is a veteran real estate investor and acquisitions expert. He has over $250 million in closed transactions across Atlanta, New Orleans, and Houston. He brings a direct, no-fluff approach to wealth building, so I'm excited to get into it. Thanks for being here, Jamaal.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So let's get into kind of how you got into this industry to begin with.
Completely by accident. I think the very first thing I did was I bought a house, a cheap house for 50 grand, and renovated it for 30,000, and did way too much renovations. And then my grandmother passed, and so I wound up renting my house out and moving to my grandmother's home. So I became a terrible landlord. I had no idea what I was doing, and made every mistake that you can make, and eventually moved out of state to Atlanta. And so then I had 2 rentals, and then I was a terrible landlord twice. And I think that it's important for people to know that it's okay to be bad at first. And it's okay to learn. So that's exactly how I started, doing everything terrible.
What made you think that you were like a bad landlord?
Well, I'll say first, the neighbor who lived next door to me went into foreclosure, and I felt bad because they had made a decision to put their kid through private school and not pay their mortgage. And I didn't really understand it at the time, but I thought it was a noble thing. And so when I moved out of my home, they were, we knew those, I knew those people, and so I said, well, you can rent a house, and so let this be a lesson: do not rent your home to someone who recently was foreclosed on. And so that's not a great tenant to start off with. And then from there it goes on to picking the wrong paint. When you renovate a house, sometimes you want to do things how you want them, and I definitely renovated thinking I was going to live there for a long time. And so I picked the $300 gallon of paint because it was the salesperson was a very good salesperson. And so now it's time to repaint, and all of a sudden I have to try to match this paint at $300 a gallon. That's not a smart decision. So I don't do those things now.
Yeah. Well, you learn on the job. I feel like that's a lot of it. Did you feel like you had a lot of, formal education before this, or was it mostly on the job?
No, everything was on the job. I was, after high school, I joined the military. And so that's about as on the job as you can get in the Marines. And from there, just had a couple of jobs. I get a few, Fortune 500 companies, nothing special.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
And just got into real estate by accident, working a regular job and buying a house, eventually renting that first house out. And I think that's kind of what starts the process. I tell everyone, if you can get to 2 homes, you can do this and retire.
Mm. I mean, and what was that kind of turning point for you where you felt like things, were maybe going wrong and you were making a lot of decisions that you can learn from? When did that shift to you being confident to do this full time?
I'll be honest with you. There was a friend of mine who was in real estate, but I didn't know what he was doing. He was working for a company. And I had, at that time, I had 2 rental properties and I was a terrible landlord and I wasn't making any money. I wasn't, they were negative cash flowing and wasn't doing the math. And I was just thinking this real estate thing sucks. And he comes around and he's got, $27,000 for this house that he just sold. And I'm thinking to myself, you're poor. And I know there's no way you live in an apartment. How did you sell a house? I'm so confused. And so, literally sitting down with him saying, "Walk me through exactly what you did, because I'm smart. I should be able to figure this out." And he taught me about wholesaling, and I was like, "Man, cash flow's great, but it's slow sometimes." And it's great to be able to wholesale with fees and to being able to learn how to get properties off market at a discount. So when you get into a position to buy and do your own flips, you should. And so that was kind of the natural transition for me.
Nice. And so did you lean heavily on mentorship or networking?
I think you can say mentorship. My friend was a very good teacher, right? He taught me step by step of the wholesale process, and I had a couple of rentals, like I said, but I wasn't doing very well, and that led me into a few small networking groups, right? And so that's where I learned what the title company to use, because some of the other investors who were selling were using the title company. So I think that networking is key, because you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know who or you're in close proximity with that can help you out. I remember meeting one guy networking, and I needed a transactional funder right away. And I called him, and I'll never forget it. And I'll shout him out. His name is Justin Ship with Chaotic Realty. And he's great. And I called him one day. I said, "Hey, I need you." And I had never done a deal with Justin. And he asked me, "What do I need?" I said, "I need $250,000." He said, "When do you need it?" I said, "Tomorrow." And it took him 7 minutes to call me back. I'll never forget it. And I wouldn't have had that relationship if it wasn't for Cody Hansen. I wouldn't have had that relationship if it wasn't for networking. And so, it kind of, once you get into a market, you'll learn that the markets aren't really big. It's usually 20 or 30 people in each market, and everybody kind of knows each other. So networking is key once you get inside there.
Yeah, absolutely. You never know when something is going to be useful to you or come back around. So it's important to kind of, do what you can with everyone. So talk about those early deals and when you started really rolling with this. I'm sure the early deals were a little challenging.
Well, yeah, I mean, the early deals, my first flip was in Hampton, Georgia. I bought a little house there, and I did everything wrong again. And got I got a hard money loan, and I think it was like 150 points or something crazy. And so it was just a slow process. I think it took me maybe 9 months to do the project, and I had a business partner, and he was a realtor, and so I was kind of heavily relying on him instead of learning some things myself. And after it was all done and we got to closing finally, I made $19,000, and I was so grateful
Hmm.
that I had the money um, to split, because I was so afraid that I was going to have to pay this realtor who was my business partner to sell his house. And so, you make those early mistakes, and I call it paying tuition. Because I tell people now, if you did a deal like that. You made 19,000. You had to split it, and after 9 months, you made about 1,000 a month. But you pulled your hair out every night. Would you want to do that deal?
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency, it's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
A lot of people will say no. Or I'll say, hey, what if you did a deal for 9 months and you didn't make any money? Would that be a good deal? And a lot of people say no. And I said, well, what if you lost 50 grand? And they're like, well, that's a terrible deal. I said, well, I would do a deal if I lost 50 grand, but I learned a ton. And I think that's what separates a lot of people who are serious about investing, because people will spend, and upwards 300, 400,000 on education and get ultimately become a profession that they don't really want to do. I meet professionals like that every day. And whether they're doctors or lawyers or dentists, I hear dentists all the time. And they say, man, I didn't realize I'll be on my feet as much today. Right. And so
Yeah.
um, it's to a point where it's okay to spend that money on tuition and the traditional college sense, but people don't think about paying it in a real world sense. Sometimes you have to lose a little money and do a deal and learn what not to do, essentially, right? Don't do that again.
hmm Absolutely. And I think a lot of people stop at that point and maybe feel like they're not good at it, but you're right. It's so normal. And once you get the kinks out, things are a lot easier.
Correct.
So, talk about kind of that adaptability that you have in the market and how you've been able to switch your strategy over the last 10 years.
Yeah. So I started with, a couple of rentals, and then my buddy was wholesaling, and I got addicted to those quick checks, and we I had other companies outside of real estate. Then I was really big at scaling, and so I was trying to figure out, okay, how do we scale? How do we scale? And so I scaled that company, everything from an auto dollar to drip campaigns, you name it. And within 3 months, we were up and running, and the team grew quickly. We're probably maybe 200,000 people a week. It was crazy. And we're closing that. Those are COVID times. So we're closing, 3 deals a week wholesaling. And when you get addicted to those checks, and then COVID, ends, and we still have all these deals. No, I'm sorry, COVID begins. We have all these deals that we've been selling, and then all the buyers go away overnight. And so we have a pipeline of a ton of deals of people that are ready to sell and are willing to take a deep discount, but we don't have anybody to sell them to. And I remember sitting back with my friend and I said, man, we should just buy these deals. He said, we don't have the kind of money. And so I reached out to again a lady who had funded my deal for me, a relationship that Justin set up, and I called her again and I said, hey, by any chance, can I borrow $150,000? And she says, why? So I got the short sale that I really want to get. It's a great deal. Um, and she said, I'll come see it. So she goes to the house, comes to see it. She says, okay, it's a good deal. It's 150. We'll do the deal. So I got the deal out of short sale. And then my friend and I moved into the house with the contract over the weekend. So we bought it on Thursday, and we stayed in the house Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Renovated the house in 4 days. We did all cosmetic, new carpet, new paint, new cabinets, the whole cosmetic deal in 4 days. And we listed it. And when we sold it, she didn't believe that we got an offer within a week. Um, and she came back to see it. She says, okay, well, how much money do you need to do this again? And I had a great relationship with that private lender for the better part of 5 years. And, they wanted to pull the cash and go into crypto. Who can blame them now? But we had a great relationship. She wanted to give me a $5 million line of credit. And then it was off to the races.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, you really have to be agile in this market and kind of go towards what's working. Do you have experience with that? I know that you had a title company for a while and now you're leaning into investing. Kind of how have you leaned into certain things as you've grown in your career?
I think it's being good at what you're doing currently, but paying attention to when the tides are changing, right? And so, when I was buying inexpensive houses down in New Orleans, and I was renting them out, I had I think 7 at one time, and when you see flood insurance go up, you see the taxes increase, and it kind of eats away at your cash flow. You start to think, okay, well, is there a better way to make the same cash? Well, instead of wholesaling as much as with wholesaling, can we start flipping?
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
All right. Well, now, we're wholesaling and we're flipping at the same time. We're doing 3 transactions. We're living inside of the title company. And we're starting to realize, wait a minute, how does these title companies work? So start looking at vertically integrating, right? And so, so I launched a title company, and I launched a title company for 3 years, and it's then interest rates go from 2.25 to 7 overnight, and you start forecasting. Is Jerome Powell gonna drop these rates anytime soon? Uh, no. Okay, well, our transactions are going to slow down, right? And so you forecast, what does it look like if I renew this corporate lease for the next 5 or 10 years and keep the title company open? Will we make money, or is it time to pivot? And I think that sometimes you just have to be um, realistic and understand. Like, a lot of us are smart and we see the indicators, but I think that people don't trust themselves. And I think it's time to start trusting yourself. You know what's happening, especially if you've been in the game for a while. You know what's happening. We see interest rates are high, right? And we see prices are coming down. It's time to buy, right? And so if you have access to capital, it's now it's time to buy.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and at some point it'll be time to sell, right?
Mhm. Absolutely. And how do you kind of build that mindset of trusting yourself, especially, after you start out and you have some rocky moments? How do you really get to that point?
I think that the biggest thing you have to do is forgive yourself for the losses, right? And I think
Yeah.
if you're okay with taking calculated losses, then you can go forward confidently. And so it's not really. I don't really feel like I have to trust myself, other than I feel okay if I fail. I
Right.
feel like if I'm wrong, um, okay, we'll have to adjust. Um, I've lost, I'm always weary of anyone in this business who says they never lost money. I don't trust those people.
Yeah.
I think that everybody's had one or two of those deals that go sideways for something, and I like to talk about those deals because think it's authentic, right? And because it called those are the things that make hey, I opened a title company, I lost money, I don't do that. Or I tried to build a house down in Fayetteville, Georgia. I had 2 lots that I was going to build on, and it didn't work out, and it hit a drainage pipe that wasn't on the city plans, and I lost
Yeah.
$75,000. Jamaal doesn't like to build houses anymore. So those losses kind of put you into like a laser focus on looking at the things that do work, right? Um, so I don't regret any losses. I think that it's important that
Mhm.
that we know what we're good at doing. Sometimes we get a little crazy. I remember Burger King came out with tacos years ago. Um, don't do that. Don't do that. Right? Make burgers.
No, I think it's a good point that, I mean, nobody's fearless. It's just about having a good relationship when things don't go right. You know that you're going to be okay if there's quote unquote failure. Um, but I think that's really inspirational for people. So if you could wrap it kind of up in a bow, what would be a piece of advice that you wish you learned earlier in your career that you could share with us today?
I would say I would have networked more. I would have networked. I would have made it more of a job to network. I think sometimes we look at it more as a chore. But I told you, networking has given me um, endless opportunities. Right, my lender came from networking. My business partner I opened a title company came up from networking. And so often we kind of go to those events and we're kind of like dragging. And I've hosted networking events when I had the title company open, I was been there at several events, and I know sometimes it can be mundane. But if you network with a purpose, it can be very, very effective.
Yeah, absolutely. I think networking is really important in this industry. Kind of just like learn from other people and learn from their mistakes, and you can kind of level up together. And what are some of, I know you mentioned some events that you used to go to. What are some good ways to network for people kind of starting out?
Think, everybody's, online now. So, starting with, quintessential Facebook groups, Instagram is a great networking opportunity. But I don't think anyone, don't sleep on just the smaller groups, and speak about what you do. I've been part of BNI networking organizations, before. So I don't think there's any wrong way of networking or any wrong way. I have a friend who's a realtor, and he hosts next door events and barbecues, he just hosts events just so people can say, "What do you do?" And so then he says, "Oh, I'm a realtor." So he doesn't host an event as a realtor; he just hosts an event. And so I don't think that sometimes you don't have to be as Um, a lot of my deals came from mistakes or came out the blue just from networking, being at the right place at the right time. So be intentional about what you want to do. That way, when you meet someone, you can speak intelligently about it. So if you're going to be in real
Absolutely.
estate, tell people, "Hey, I'm in real estate." Don't your passion shouldn't be a secret.
Right. Absolutely. And just being open to opportunities from anybody. I love that. Well, thank you so much. I think you've given people a lot of good practical tips and, given some inspiration to people starting out. Where can people find you?
Instagram really is kind of the best place. It's just my name. I'm super simple, Jamaal Jamaal Richard. Just on Instagram, shoot me a DM, follow me. I try to drop tips online all the time, so people can kind of navigate these weird waters of real estate right now.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here, Jamal.
Thank you for having me again.
And thank you, everyone, for listening. Hope you learned a lot, got some inspiration for your own business, and we will see you back next time. Bye.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.